all these rejections from the middle Bollinger Band.
Resistance we're going to need.
If you actually see here, we get a
And we'll look for a healthy higher
I
low.
would not
don't have
be
the
convinced
full
to
macro
enter a long trade.
Hello, crypto friends. Hope you're doing well this Saturday. We've got a Canadian holiday coming up Monday. The US has a holiday next week. Good time to be live. So we're going to look at Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, BCH, and we're going to talk about futures a little bit. So CME futures expire today. People want to know, what impact do futures have on prices? And it's really just speculation, but people speculate that people bet money on these futures, obviously, and then holding larger positions of Bitcoin, they then sell and knock the price down. And so if they're betting bearish with those futures contracts, then they make money. So let's say on the run up, if you're playing with really big money and on the run up, you're buying thousands of Bitcoin and you're making tons of money. Now we're getting to the top, and you know we're going to be topping out sooner rather than later, and you're looking to unload your coins. And to do so, again, one option is to do the OTC, where it's a market where people exchange large transactions, or another way is to, again, run it up by buying, and then at the top you buy a ton of money for the bearish side of the futures contracts, and then you sell to lock in your profit, not all of it at the top, but you're knocking the price down and you're making money, but your selling pressure is making money. So when the futures, the CME futures have 5 Bitcoin per one contract, so essentially you can spend a lot less money and have a lot more exposure to capital in terms of the percentage and the risk to reward of those contracts versus the individual coins themselves. So you're not actually trading any of the coins when you're buying the futures contracts. It's a money transaction. There's no Bitcoin involved, but it's, you know, people having interactions with the Bitcoin market itself that leads people to believe that that is a strategy that some of the whales take. And I definitely assume that that's going on to a certain degree, but we have to keep in mind that we don't want to hold these hopes of events. And obviously we're charts and technical analysis here, and obviously there's a ton of news that affects things that you can't see on the chart. But to hold out and say you're in a losing position, you'll say, you know, that's how you talk yourself into emotional reactions and can end up taking bigger losses. If you don't have a stop loss that you're honoring and you're saying, oh, well, I'll wait till this next event, and you're just kicking the can down the road. Meanwhile, the slide's getting worse and worse. And I know that's happening to a lot of people because that's psychologically what happens to lots of traders, myself included. That has happened in the past. And again, everything that I'm talking about in these videos, I have experienced to a certain degree. And I talked about in a Canadian MJ video where I was holding a position and it was red 2%. Ended up being a profitable trade, but I was uncomfortable swinging a position overnight down 2% because I just don't do that anymore. And someone said, you know, wow, you should really feel like what bag holding looks like. But I'm still holding penny stocks that went to zero from back when I was trading in 2013. And they're stock write-offs, but they have no bid, meaning nobody wants to buy them. So I can't sell them to realize the loss. So I've experienced all of this, and that's why I say always use stop losses. I can show you my penny stock Hall of Fame. So Bitcoin on the daily time frame is barely clinging on to support, and obviously the bears still have control at this point. And if we break this support, we're looking at another leg down. As a rule of thumb, as a trader, I do not go short on things that are oversold. It's just the risk to reward. If you look at 100 scenarios of something being under 30 RSI on the daily time frame and then shorting it from that point, yeah, there's going to be some winners, but in my opinion, the larger than average is going to be the losses on the inability for the shorts to get much downside once the coin or stock or whatever it is has gone oversold. So I've been using this for 5 years at this point, maybe not that much, maybe 3 or 4 years once I enacted this just rule of thumb. Just, it's very easy for me to overlook certain trades and move on to find the next one if that's my rule of thumb and it doesn't meet that criteria. So we're not there yet on Bitcoin, and here is the uptrend line on the RSI, and it broke bearish here with this last leg down. So that's clearly a bear break. Now that doesn't mean stop looking at the RSI, because I am still going to be watching this downtrend resistance line for if and when it does break. But it was definitely a setback for the bulls. Live line drawing. And one thing I don't like about trends is look how much variance I can have in this trend with just how much I'm making it touch this line. So that's always something I'm aware of, that trend lines are going to be different no matter who draws them. So anyways, that's the resistance that we're watching. Daily chart, haven't seen 2 red days in a week and a half at this point, or 2 green days in a row. And in order to change the trend on the 4-hour time frame, we have a potential week. We've seen these bear flags before. At this point, the bulls prove nothing to me unless they get over these exponential resistances and see them bull cross. The last bounce did not see them bull cross, so I need to see it this time. The bulls showed up, and they definitely defended the support on the initial attempt down. The hourly time frame dumped down to it, and you can see this candlestick. That's because there's a lot of market orders and a lot of fighting going on between the bulls and the bears, and the bulls did win, but we're seeing these upper wicks still, and as long as we're seeing upper wicks, that's showing us that the bulls are not seeing significant follow through or sustained buying on these moves. They're just quick spurts rather than a nice steady buying pressure that's pushing the price up. So a lot of people were holding out for the hope that the close of the CME futures was going to change the momentum and change the trend, maybe like back in April when we saw April's weekly bounce, that month of upside. So the point was, you don't want to be looking and holding out for these events, because then if they don't follow through, just like everybody was looking for consensus to be a catalyst and it wasn't. So we have to keep that in mind and stick to the charts and use levels and remain patient. Again, I'm trading these names so much less. I'll have to get my numbers sometime and compare my June trading numbers to April, which was significantly different. So we have these lower highs. For people looking for bear trades, every time we break a 4-hour support level, it's a potential bearish entry, and you can just put your stop loss above a recent 4-hour high. Again, I wouldn't be using any shorter term time frames than the 4-hour or the daily, and you can just see the clear resistance levels where we're getting legs down. We have a tightening pattern. Every time support breaks, we get a flush down, and right now the bears are waiting for a flush down here to lose this double bottom, and the bulls are trying to hold that level. So checking in on Ethereum, it's definitely weaker. There's a lower wick trying to form here on the daily chart, but again, we're seeing lower highs on the daily chart at this point, 8 days in a row. That's significant. That's just showing unrelenting bearish momentum, and because they're getting these little green days inside there, the RSI is not dumping. We're not even oversold yet. So for this RSI on the daily to get down into the mid-20s like we just saw with Litecoin, it would require a drop into the 380 range, and that is significant from where we are standing right now. So again, it's the constant scenario that we've been in where the bulls have to prove themselves and they have to have volume and follow through. Otherwise, it's just a bearish trend, and the bears don't have to do a whole lot to just ride with it. So 4-hour time frame for Ethereum, last clear little lower highs were at 446.21 and 439.64. Little bounce attempt here, a couple inside bars. Even if we get a bull break, we will still be zooming out and watching to see if the lower highs break. And I would say these two levels are the last clear lower highs. So even a solid $10, $15 move, we're still going to be below resistance on Ethereum. And on Litecoin, we did drop down to a lower low here as well, 4-hour time frame, a weak bounce, similar to what Bitcoin is doing, but a little bit different in the sense that the hourly chart was a bit weaker, and now the bulls are trying to break the lower highs. So this is, a little rounded bottom for Litecoin, and we have a lower high, lower low pattern that now has a little higher low and is trying for some higher highs. So there is a little shift going on in Litecoin, but we're not going to anticipate to be able to go too far unless Bitcoin gets going as well on this hourly time frame. So Litecoin can see a bit of upside, but I don't think it would be significant. And here on the 4-hour time frame, the last lower highs are very clear as well. We have 81.97, then we're looking down at 79.82, and we're going to look for a bounce and another lower high to form. So Litecoin, again, very similar. The daily chart still keeping the bears in full control. At this point, 4th lower high in a row, but it's already oversold. So I personally, just rule of thumb, I would not look to short Litecoin because the daily RSI is oversold, and I'll just go find something else to trade. Again, I'm never going to put myself in positions where I'm saying, oh, I guess I'll make this trade, and conceding to make the trade. The trade has to come to me, and I have to want to make that trade. So today, just trading Canadian MJ, day trading, I was sitting and patient all morning, hardly made any trades after making some sells, but in terms of looking for a buy-in, I wasn't getting the setup that I wanted, and I sat there for probably 2 hours without doing anything, just patiently watching for what I wanted, but not getting it. So again, you're in charge, and make the charts, make the price, make it all work for you on your terms. And if those terms aren't met, you walk away from the deal. It's like a negotiation, and you have all the power. BCH, USD, lower highs and lower lows, a little bull bounce attempt. Daily's just about to get oversold. Again, it's a weak 4-hour bounce. This isn't proving anything. All it's doing is delaying what the bears feel is the inevitable, and what has been the inevitable for the past month plus, 6 weeks plus. So the last resistance that we're looking at here is 722.02. Anything under that's a lower high. Exponential resistance. The bulls did break to a lower low, not by a significant amount, and we're not going to see significant follow through on these bear breaks unless we see Bitcoin break its double bottom, essentially. That's going to be keeping the bulls with some hope at this point. And that's where we stand as we head into tomorrow. So we are watching very close. And a lot of people said, that the bear break here wasn't news related, or why does it have to be news related? But really, when you see 15-minute RSI get single digits, that doesn't happen without being a significant news reaction. And of course, the volume, the minute the news starts circulating, the volume starts to spike. So in my opinion, those are the facts. And yes, it's a speculation to some degree, but the facts certainly point towards the news having a significant effect on the bear break, as opposed to any counter opinion. So that's what we got as we head into tomorrow. Everything's looking fine. Bears in control, patiently waiting, all cash. And again, every time we drop to a lower low, it's not exciting, but I feel a little bit happy, because the lower the price gets, the better the bounce is going to be. And that just means more gains to the upside. So there's plenty of people playing bearish. Again, I am not playing bearish because I am on GDAX, and that's the way it's going to stay for now. But I'm trading other things, and I'm perfectly fine just waiting for this dump. And again, if we drop down to 4,500, yeah, it would be a bummer. A lot of people would be upset. But a 100+% bounce is going to come from wherever we bottom, in my opinion. And that has not been found yet. So whether we bounce from 4,000 to 8,000 or 5,000 to 10,000, that's what I'm going to be looking for to happen at some point into the end of the year, into next year maybe even. But I'll just patiently wait until it happens, because sentiment will shift. It always does. This is not new. Cryptocurrency is new, absolutely, but human emotions and cycles are not new. And the bulls will shift this daily trend, and they will vigorously buy the dip at some point. Whether that's at 5,000 or 3,000 or 1,000, I have no idea. But I wait and I look for signals that the bottom is forming. And at this point, we just don't have them. So we sit patient, and I know to keep checking in on it. Like I did the video for the gold miners on the YouTube channel. I'm watching that pattern. I don't expect any break for 2 months, but it's a play that I am setting up for and getting ready for. And then that opportunity is going to come, and there'll probably be a month or two span where there's some nice trading opportunity there. And this is going to be the same thing. It's no different than any other market. It's a low right now. We're going to see volatility pick up and volume pick up once the bottom is hit. We're going to see bullish opportunities again. But until then, it's all bears. So finishing off with the story. Into yesterday, let's see, we were at Telluride, Colorado, kept going west through Colorado. Actually, I did go back east, and I went to Boulder. This is actually Curricanti National Recreational Area. Not exactly sure on the map where it is off the top of my head, but in that general Colorado area. But these are just places, again, where you just pull off, and it's like you can go swimming there. And so I would go and camp somewhere near these places and then just drive around and explore all day and swim and take naps and do lots of fun stuff. Then I went and saw String Cheese Incident at Red Rocks in Colorado. Really sweet venue there, certainly well known. A lot of big names go through there. That was a great show. And then I went and woofing, so worldwide opportunities on organic farms. And this was more of a house that just had a really sweet garden. So in Boulder, Colorado, I went and stayed here for a week or two, and she needed a house sitter for a month. So I ended up there for about 5 weeks. And I was by myself for a month of it, in terms of just having my responsibilities to play with the dog twice a day and keep everything alive and thriving in the garden. So that was a fun routine. And I got to explore Boulder and have a home base, get showers and good food. This was the backyard, and just a really good view, long range, and a nice rainbow, and the storms would blow through pretty fast. Pretty interesting area to go from growing things in Maine to coming down to Colorado, and just the air is so much more arid and dry, and these storms that come in are pretty brutal in terms of, you have different concerns about things getting knocked down and having to water. We watered so much more than I watered in Maine. We didn't really water much in Maine aside from when things were really small, and you have to water a lot every day here because things dry out so quickly. So I was not accustomed to that, but interesting observing how the plants need different conditions in different environments. So she had been doing her thing for a long time, nice and organized beds and a whole bunch of space. She was growing a good amount of stuff, and around the fences, she was trellising cucumbers and all the good stuff, and a bunch of peas. I wish I got a picture of the color of the peas, or these beans actually, not peas. and they're something dragon is what they're called, but they're these beans with red and green spots and purple, and just you wouldn't even believe it. It looks like they're painted, but pretty cool bunch of beans. So I stayed there for 6 weeks and explored around Colorado more. There he is, bunch of cucumbers. So from all those boxes, this is just one day's harvest. Those are the beans, those are potatoes, and there would be, I could do that every few days, every week at least. I'd get that much, and just from that small area. So it shows you what just a few garden beds can do. 5 by 3 foot, whatever. You can grow a significant amount of food on your own. Do it. I dare you. Garlic's really easy to do. If you're going to do one that you didn't want to have to tend to, look up how to do garlic. Potatoes are pretty hardy. You don't have to you just have to mound them up a little bit. Beans are really easy. It's all easy once you get the hang of it, and you can learn online very easily. So these are just the long roads on, government land that you can camp wherever you want on. So I drive up a road where there's nobody around, and I throw up a tent, and that's my camping spot for the night that was free and is on top of the world. There's also sage all around, which is pretty cool. I like sage a lot. It was cool that was abundant. And then heading westward still towards Utah, just more trails and epic places with lakes and water and animals everywhere and sweet views and rocks. Go to Colorado. Definitely one of the best states. If I had to rank states, it's Colorado, Maine's up there, North Carolina's up there, and Utah, which is where we're going next. But these views, it looks like a painting. When you're standing there, it's almost so surreal that it's far away like this. It absolutely looks like a painting. And pretty good quality. This is a 5-year-old cell phone, 5 years ago. Pretty crazy that cell phones can do that. So wrapping it up from Colorado, just more places to hang out. And we're going to move on to Utah next. Really awesome spots in Utah. And I explored the south side, which is Canyonlands National Park and Arches National Park. Those are really cool ones. But I didn't even get to go north. And north is it's almost night and day where you're getting such different terrain in Utah. But there are so many cool places. I was actually supposed to go back to a trip through Utah, the north of Utah, and I ended up getting stuck in North Carolina for 3 years. Wasn't planning on it, but a road trip for another day. So I hope you all continue to do good things out there. Let's check back in on Bitcoin now that I've talked a bit. Probably nothing changing. That's the case. Things are still slow, volume still not really existent. Bears have complete control and they're comfortable as long as 4-hour lower highs remain. And we'll see what tomorrow brings. Hang in there, don't overtrade, stay protective. Again, like I said last night in a Twitter post, I didn't even, on that dump, I placed some bids on Litecoin just in case, but I almost didn't want to get filled because I don't want to babysit a bear flag and just have to watch weak bounces and hope that they get follow through. It's just not a good environment, and I really don't care waiting, and it's because I have other things to trade. If I had nothing else to trade, I would be having a really hard time right now. So that's why I keep encouraging people to learn other things in this downtime. Thanks again. See you tomorrow.